Hello, my name is Marc Emery. I'm with Sasha. Sasha's been a long-term friend of mine and was an employee of mine through the late 1990s. Sasha has a history of drug addiction and she'll tell you about that now.
Okay, I guess my addiction began when I was very young as a child. As for most addicts, I believe that from my experience I've seen that addiction is a result of some sort of trauma that people suffer at some point in their lives. It's usually in their childhoods. At an early age my father died, and that was very hard on me.
How old were you then?
I was 4.
4?
Almost 5. And I became a very hyperactive child, and I was taken to a psychiatrist, and they told them I was borderline hyperactive. I was doing poorly in school, and I was put on Ritalin. And that I feel.
At what age?
I think about 9 or 10.
Okay, that's.
And it was short. I wasn't on Ritalin for a very long time, probably only about 6 months. But it's also my experience that I've noticed with other addicts that kids that are put on Ritalin at ages like that are also very, very prone to addiction. Usually more cocaine and speed, but also addiction. It sort of gets the feeling of, or the mindset of, there's something wrong with you, so you need to take drugs. And
what was your later addictive history?
My later addictive history was the major one was heroin, and that began for me in 1989. The first time I ever did it, I really didn't know that it was heroin. Really, it was Mexican brown tar heroin. I was living in San Francisco at the time. And, I thought heroin was a white powder and this wasn't, and I did some of it, and I smoked it on tinfoil and felt a little floaty and stuff, but what was the big deal? At this point I had no prior knowledge of addiction, withdrawal, anything like that. All I knew was that, those drugs are bad, don't do them, they're addictive. But I didn't know what addiction was.
Right, so did you take this more often after that time?
Yeah, I started to because my friends were. And it was around, and because of the circumstances I was in, I was sort of dealing on the street to make money, and I was doing this before I started using heroin, and then by sort of, you get a little deeper and deeper into the street, and you know, it can take you down that path totally, and that's where it took me.
Okay, and so at what point did you realize you were addicted? How long after using?
It was probably about 4 months. It was really quite quick. From the first time that I used it till I became fully addicted. And
what was your self-awareness when you realized you were addicted? What thoughts then go through your head at that point?
Shit.
Does it give you the same rush later on once you realize you're addicted as it did the first time? Is it for the same reason you take it? Or?
For an opiate, when what happens is you get a physical addiction. So you basically, when you're physically addicted, your withdrawal signs are sweats, vomiting, diarrhea, extreme anxiety, muscle cramps, spasms.
And you experience all these things?
Oh yeah.
On more than one occasion did you go through withdrawal?
Yes.
How many times did you find yourself that you can recall generally going through withdrawal in the life of your addiction?
Oh, probably 20 times, maybe.
And it's always horrible?
Oh, yeah. Well, pretty much. No. That's kind of hard to say.
Okay.
They were all horrible in a way because it's an unpleasant thing, but the best experience that I had was with the Ibogaine.
Okay.
So
well, let's talk about the things you did before. Now, and you were addicted for quite some time. We're going to talk about an extensive history here.
Yeah.
And so tell us, throughout the 1990s, you were addicted to this substance? And,
just pretty much from like 89 to 91 was heroin, and then crack cocaine got in there for about 8 months, and that was pretty bad.
Now what's the attraction in realizing you're addicted to one substance, opiates, and then you go to another substance? What motivates you when you're thinking that sort of thing?
Just being around it. I was around other people who were doing it, and people that were very close to me.
And I guess when you're an addict, it's necessary to be around other addicts to get your supply.
Yeah, and I was street dealing to support my habit.
Right.
So Yeah, totally.
So tell us the history of your various attempts to get off your addiction.
The first time was I tried cold turkey, and I went for 4 days. And
tell us what happens in 4 days of going cold turkey.
Can't sleep, sweating, diarrhea, vomiting, anxiety.
For those of us who've never been
Pain,
addicted, what's the difference between a bad flu and withdrawal?
It's like having the worst flu you've ever had, but with total anxiety and craving to the point of like, if you take this drug, you're going to get better. You're going to feel better. And it's like, it's mentally drives you crazy.
They even say that on the downtown east side here when they say to go fix, they say we're going to go get well.
Yeah,
they actually use that term, we're going to go get well.
Because it's also dope sick.
And for a person who's out on the outside, that seemed like such an ironic term to use.
Yes.
When they're panicking, anxiety, another addict says, okay, let's go get you well.
Yeah, exactly. Because after a while you maintain a habit. You don't get high. I guess you kind of do, but it's not like in the beginning. You're basically just maintaining yourself. Like I could be high right now. We work together.
Right, I
maintained a full-blown addiction. I was using over 1 gram a day.
I'm not sure if I was negligent or what, but I did not know that Sasha was a heroin addict, and you worked for me for 2 years before you told me.
Yes.
Right, and I was shocked because I said, well, you don't match the stereotype at all. You seem competent and cognizant of things. You never seemed out of it to me, but so the reason one takes heroin is to
That's a functioning addict.
Right. And you took the heroin simply because the alternative was too painful.
When I eventually moved to Vancouver, I was turned back onto heroin. I went for a period of not really using it for a while, and then it's very abundant here, and I came across it again, became addicted again, and
is temptation an element of going back to use? Like is the availability of it almost irresistible to the addict?
Yes. Yeah, because I find, I travel a lot, and when I go to Holland, which is supposedly notorious for hard drugs, I have never ever done it while I'm there. I've never seen it. It's not and when I'm away, I'm able to function, and I don't really think about. But when I know I can get it, and it's so easy, it makes it really hard. They have delivery services here. You call a number, they bring it to your house.